All right. Well, we got the Freebus hooked up with the Reba Claiborne and Vorpal the Snurd and took a couple of turns on the Coddlewort, and we're back with you. So, welcome back.
Yes. Sorry about all the technical difficulties this morning. This hasn't happened in a very long time, so I guess there's that.
Yeah, whoever decided they were going to give us an update or something, and it screwed everything up. So,
Always
I love
very
modern
exciting.
technology. Yes,
It always
sir.
works, right?
It sure does.
It always works.
Yeah, except when you don't want it to.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, welcome back to Get Real America, and what's getting real as far as aviation goes. Jay Ratliff, iHeart aviation analyst and expert, is with us to tell us about what's happening this week in aviation and what happened on a recent flight that got some people's hairs standing up on their back. Welcome back to Get Real America. Time once again to check out what's going on in the skies, friendly or otherwise. And our good buddy Jay Ratliff, aviation expert, and good buddy is on the line here with us this morning. And Jay, I'm looking forward to that $4,000 I'm getting from Delta Airlines. What's this for? Good morning.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what we had, an overbooked flight. And giving out, goodness, $4,000 for passengers getting off an airplane. It was overbooked. So what ended up taking place was they asked for volunteers, as is normally the case. Nobody volunteered. It was on a Boston to Rome flight. We're talking about an international departure. People weren't real, shall we say, anxious to get off the plane. So raising the ante. And once they got to, I think it was $4,000, they had people that started to give in. And I think, they had 13 passengers that ultimately accepted the offer between $2,000 and $4,000 to travel the next day. And then to be in a position where all they had to do, they were given a hotel, food voucher, and went from there. But that's not too bad. I mean, when you're given nearly $3,000 to get off simply to postpone your trip by one day, that's not a bad deal at all.
No. Is this, have you seen fees like this before?
Yeah, because when a flight's overbooked, they need to get the airplane out of there.
Yeah.
And if they do what we call an involuntary bumping, which means no volunteers, we have an oversold flight, which they do all the time. They know so many people from a percentage standpoint aren't going to be able to make the flight. Things change, they get that. But if they have to involuntarily bump somebody, kick them off the airplane without a volunteer, there's a great deal of paperwork that goes to the Department of Transportation, and it's a report they really don't want to provide, because if you start involuntarily bumping passengers, it can work against you in the eyes of the DOT. You don't want that. So that means that, you'll give out these gift cards for some of these insane amounts to get people to volunteer to come off the flight.
All right.
And we've had a family of 4 that has racked up over $10,000 just for putting their flight off one time.
Wow. Well, I'll have to get to the airport today and overbook my flight here.
Yep.
Well, meanwhile,
I don't know what's American. I'm sorry. You fly American. I'm primary Delta. But when you check in, it says there's a chance your flight might be oversold. And if so, when we ask for volunteers, what amount of money would it get for you to give up your seat? And I always tell people in some insane, $1,500 or something. And if they don't get any volunteers, they may call you up and say, "Hey, were you serious? If so, we need your 2 seats. Here's $3,000." So I don't know if American has that in the online boarding or not, but Delta does everything they can to try to address that long before we get to the airport. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, meanwhile, speaking of American Airlines, they notified the police about a possible child trafficking incident. Turns out that exactly wasn't the case.
It was not. It was a biracial or a mixed race father that's flying with his 2 sons. He's a musician. I think it's David Ryan Harris is his name. And Billy's flying with American Airlines, which he's done since 2004. They're flying LA to Los Angeles, and during the course of the flight, his 2 sons were there. There was some interaction with the flight attendant with the kids. Now, these are young boys, And one of them was very shy, almost standoffish, didn't really want to have any interaction with the flight attendant.
Hmm.
One of the things flight attendants taught is in a child trafficking situation, the kids that are being trafficked are ingrained, taught, warned to have no interaction with any adult ever. And
Hmm.
if flight attendants notice a hesitation in any communication with a child and them, the radar goes up and they say, hey, there could be a problem here. So the flight attendant notifies the captain, who notifies airport police in Los Angeles. So when dad and the two boys exit, as you would normally exit, he's pulled off to the side. There are armed police officers there. There's an American Airlines representative, and they start questioning it. Initially, he had no idea what was going on.
Hmm.
Then it dawned on to him what was taking place. Then he got furious, tried to hold his composure because he didn't want to further scare his sons.
Sure.
And then after the interaction, they're allowed to depart. And his big issue was not the fact that he was pulled off to the side and questioned, but there was no apology. And do you really need four police officers to surround you when you come off of an airplane?
Uh-huh.
Not exactly, I think, how it should have been handled. Now, do I fault the airline here? No, I do fault them in how it was handled. But believe me, those flight attendants do a great job on the front line looking for any possible child
Hmm.
trafficking situation. So
Sure.
I'm glad they did it, but this could have been handled so much better.
Yeah, there always seems to be that, and there seems to be this overreaction sometimes that you're saying was that really necessary?
Yeah, and that's the sad part about it is you had a situation where you had a passenger, and look, I've had some of these delicate conversations where you pull as a member of management passengers off to the side, and you talk to them about a very again sensitive topic. It could be the fact that they need two seats. It may be that they are appear to be under the influence of a substance. It could be something along the lines of, the possibility of trafficking a child or even an adult.
Hmm.
But when you have those situations, you always pull them off to the side. You minimize it as much as you can because you recognize it's going to put them in an uncomfortable situation.
Sure.
And, this was something that, again, the way it went down, the passenger was just very upset how it was handled.
Yeah, I would think they would try to maybe reimburse him for the flight or something like that. But that's
I can tell you they won't, they
they,
won't do that. I wish they would, but it
yeah,
set a real dangerous precedent there. And anytime people complain when they did to me in management at Northwest, it was, when you're trying to find out what they want, I want free flights for life. Well, you're not going to get that. So
yeah.
try to, find
May as well go for the
because you're
gold
looking
first.
down,
Yeah,
you're going to end
you
up
could.
giving a $150 voucher for travel. So we've got to make sure we lower their expectations before you roll that out and hand it to them.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Jay. Any other amusing stories that you have for us as we close it out today?
You're talking American, let's keep it rolling. There was a passenger that boarded an American Airlines flight. He's headed for coach. He's one of the last to board,
Hmm.
and he sees an opening in one of the first class bins. So he just throws his carry-on bag up there and keeps walking towards coach. The flight attendant in first class said, "No, time out here. Not going to happen." And he said, "Look, there's no, everybody's boarded." But she said, "No, we're still waiting on one more passenger for first class. Get your bag and go back." Well, as it turned out, the guy was not too happy about it. Made sure he told her about it. Finally, gets his bag and he's yapping at her all the way back to his seat in coach. Well, she's following him. Next thing you know, they're kind of going at it nose to nose, and he's boom kicked off the flight. So, I mean, if you want to argue with the flight attendant, that's certainly your call. But I'm
Hmm.
just reminding you what some of the, shall we say, consequences for such actions could be.
Yeah.
I don't know if this guy will get kicked off of American for an extended period of time, but look, I'm not going to get into a power conversation with a flight attendant because I will lose every single time.
Good advice, and you always do, and you always and things are always amusing. And like we said, you never say you've seen it all.
Well, good Lord, you'd never want to be asinine enough to say that because then you're underestimating the human element, and there's no way
Hmm.
we want to do that.
For sure. Jay, safe travels. We'll talk to you again next week. God bless.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Yes, sir. See you next week, and we'll be right back. Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
Have you ever boarded a plane and thought to yourself, I hope the pilot is a transgender refugee? Have you ever gone to the emergency room and said, I hope my medical team is incredibly diverse? Have you ever moved to a new city and said, I hope the police department hit its equity goals for the year? If your answer to these questions was no, if you just wanted the most qualified candidates for the job, then you are normal. But we have a lot of very not normal people running America these days. Left-wing politicians believe skin color or gender identity should determine who gets the job. Democrats used to care about the middle class. Now they just care about your race and your gender. And as long as Democrats stay in power, it will just keep getting worse. Stop the bigotry. Stop the insanity. Paid for by Citizens for Sanity.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Who is a kid? Well, that's a kid. And another. Look, a gaggle of them. Or is it a herd? Litter? Pride. But what about her? Tell her she's not a kid. Or him. So how do we tell who is a kid? Height? Age, maybe. But some of us have to grow up faster than others. A kid. A kid. A kid wants to make the world better. And one day, he just might. Is a kid fearless? Vulnerable? Strong? Nervous? Yes. 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 Kiwanis is 600,000 kids at heart doing all the little and big things it takes to help children around the world. Because kids need Kiwanis. All of them.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Going down the home stretch here. I understand you have something from the Atlanta Urinal and Constipation.
Yes, the AJC this morning, the headline reads, Trump skips second GOP debate, trashes EV industry from Detroit. Is he wrong? I mean,
Yeah.
is he wrong? That's the only question I have. I know that the AJC is no friend to conservatives, but, Trump going to Detroit, I think he doesn't need to debate, honestly.
No,
he has a
doesn't.
record, and he doesn't really need to debate. The EV thing, of course, when you have the motor vehicle companies, unions picketing,
Yeah.
and it's because of the policy of this administration on EVs, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I
It's
think
like
he has
those
every
people
right
up
to
in Chicago
trash them.
complaining about all the illegal aliens. And said, well, you voted for this.
Exactly. Well, and I think the reason it's such a big deal here in Georgia, of course, is because we have the Hyundai plant that's being built just outside Chatham County in Bryan County. And it's been controversial. I mean, I think we like the idea of having jobs. I don't know that
Yeah.
conservatives necessarily support the government getting involved. And
And they were well-paying jobs.
yes, and bringing in the EV industry, we would have probably preferred an American company building cars, but
Well, we'd probably have preferred, even if it's a South Korean company, that's fine, but build build with the internal combustion engine. I think it's Toyota. Honda is also advertising now that they have a hybrid. Said you never have to plug it in because the motor charges the battery.
But the battery still costs about
Yeah.
$15,000, $20,000
Oh, yeah.
to replace.
Yeah.
So my friend does have an EV, and she's like, "Yeah, I just found out that if I have to replace this, it's gonna be bad."
And you are going to have to replace it.
Yeah. So still very expensive, and Steve Stanton Sr. he says didn't watch 1 second of the debate, but rather watched Tucker's interview with Bill O'Reilly. It was a very good interview, he says. So I'll have to check that out. I did not catch that.
We'll have to get part of that for you next week as well. But the whole thing is that, by the way, those of you who might have EVs, they're going to have to put GPSs on them because they're going to have to tax you somehow since you're not buying
And gas.
gasoline to pay road taxes. They're going to tax you on the mileage that you drive. So welcome to the wonderful world of technology.
Well, technology and also
Big Brother.
yes, exactly. And Trump last night did skip the debate, but did his own thing in Michigan yesterday. So we have a little clip of that.
Yeah.
The only time Joe Biden has ever gotten his hands dirty is when he's taking cash from foreign countries, which is quite often, actually. It's quite often. Based on what we're seeing, it's much more often than anyone would have thought. But can you imagine an unannounced raid on his many homes? He would have made Senator Menendez look like a baby, just like a baby. Can you imagine? You know, they gave him 3 weeks' notice. You know, they said, we're going to raid your home over documents. They gave him 3 weeks. Would 3 weeks be enough? So I can imagine. I'd like to see what he cleaned out of there. Joe Biden only cares about enriching his own family. I care about enriching your family. That's why I did this. That's why I did it.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. He didn't need this.
No.
You're in your 70s. You're a multi-billionaire. What do you need this for? Why do you have to go through this hassle? He is doing this for us.
Well, and Trump says he was built for this. He's been preparing his whole life for this fight. And
he really has.
the thing is his messaging has never changed.
No.
He loves America. He thinks that the regulatory government has destroyed things. They need to learn to negotiate. I mean, the messaging is still the same.
And everywhere he goes, cheering. You don't see that with any other candidate.
Well, it's amazing. How does someone win all of the bellwether counties and everywhere he goes, there's people that, they'll put a parade together just for him while he's there.
Right.
And we have footage of that in Michigan.
Yeah, Drake Enterprises. But the apparatchiks for the Democrat Party that work, I want you to go back and do your own research. You don't have to believe us. You can do your own research and see how many of the network anchors and mainstream media people were former members of the Democrat Party. of some sort. They had high-paying jobs somewhere, just like George stuffing envelopes. He was President Clinton's was he the chief of staff, or
he was the press secretary.
Press secretary,
yeah.
He wasn't the press secretary.
No.
He was chief of staff or something like
Okay.
that. But he was pretty high up. And suddenly, when he left, there was this magical transformation. And he got a multi-million-dollar job as an anchor at ABC.
Basically, when you're in the White House under a Democratic president, it's the farm team for the media, basically.
Yeah.
So
Chuck
that's exciting.
Todd was a member, a big Democrat apparatchik, and his wife is still highly connected in the Democratic Party. I'm sorry, the Democrat Party. It's not Democratic.
Yeah. Well, and Dana Perino, I mean, she did work under George Bush, and she is working for Fox. I'm trying to think of the other ones that are there. So, I mean, they both do it, but I do think that it's very obvious that these people
Jen Psaki
can be, they can be
has
paid.
a great job at BSDNC.
Yes, these people can be paid, and they're paid to spew a narrative, and you can see that. I mean, the rhetoric is the same on every single channel. It's unbelievable.
I was nauseated happened to come across the Communist News Network yesterday because I had a technician at the house trying to figure out this new television set we got, and finally got it figured out. But CNN popped up, and Jake Tapestry is interviewing this woman about how dangerous, if Donald Trump is elected and reelected, then this is going to be the end of America, that free press is going to go by the wayside. Remember how he criticized the press? Well, he criticized the press for a reason, because they are lying to you. If you will go back, those of you who remember the Gulf War, just to give you one example, they told us that we didn't stand a chance against Saddam Hussein's army. The army in the Middle East was so well prepared because they'd been fighting for 7 years with another country. They had another border dispute over there, and so they had all these experienced soldiers. The Republican Guard was the name that was this force that was going to be so bad against us, and our soldiers were just volunteers. This is the same volunteer army that the media had demanded some years back. They're all volunteers, so they don't know what they're doing. And Ronald Reagan wasted all this money on all this defense equipment that's not going to work in the desert. How'd we do? It was over in less than 90 days, and we kicked butt and took names. And by the time we got through with the Republican Guard, they had to change their name to the Democrat Guard. It was just pathetic. We kicked butt and took names.
Well, and I mean, I think that's the other thing. Social media is good and bad. I will say it's given us the opportunity to actually be able to do our own research, get videos from places that you're not going to get in the mainstream media, but people are posting them from their local neighborhoods, just like in Michigan. We wouldn't see that footage anywhere else except for on social media platforms. Topping on the cake this morning, though, Elon Musk fired the election integrity team that he hired because they were interfering in an election. How about that?
Well, good for him.
Yes. Well, I do think that because of advertising reasons and things, they were like, you have to have an election integrity team. And he's like, okay. So then when they start to interfere, he's like, you guys are gone. Sorry.
Okay.
So
that was the same with Donald Trump. Usually, when you see these people most of the time in politics, when they're screwing up, they are given a lateral promotion somewhere. They probably get more money. But Donald Trump said, "Okay, you're fired. You're out of here." He went through some people like in 2 weeks. So remember the mooch?
I do not.
Okay, the mooch was gone in a couple of days.
Oh.
It was just amazing.
Okay. Well, one other thing I wanted to touch on before we head out today was this bizarre thing from Kimberly Yee, who's the Republican treasurer in Arizona. She put out a statement yesterday that she was notified that she will be serving as acting governor beginning later this evening until mid-morning tomorrow, which would be today. While I am pleased to step into this role, I will refrain from naming directors to the 13 agencies that currently have vacancies and will not call the Arizona legislature into session to confirm them. That being said, I do hope when the governor returns to Arizona, where did she go? That's a very good question. And that she will promptly name qualified directors to these important state agencies and remove the legal uncertainty that exists for all of the regulatory actions taken by the agencies. I expect to see a swift resolution to this matter. So when we get back to getting the work done we can get back to getting the work done for Arizona taxpayers. The people of Arizona deserve leaders who follow the rule of law. So there is a big issue going on in the state of Arizona because the state legislatures are basically vetting her candidates, and they do not like who she has chosen. And I'm sure with good reason. I do think that Katie Hobbs is one of those people that is bought and paid for by someone. I don't want to say the cartels, but I'm just saying. And I think it's very odd that she went somewhere. Number one, where is she?
Yeah.
Number two, why would you put the treasurer in charge? I believe the AG is also out of town until Friday. Like, where are these people? They represent Arizona. Where are they?
Maybe they're guarding the border.
We know that's not true. They're probably helping process.
I was just going to say, yeah. They're just bringing more people in.
Yeah. Which is
just like what's his name that was waving all those people in on January the 6th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who got 3 months?
Yeah. Ray Epps, is that who you're referring
Ray
to?
Epps. Yeah. That guy. He got the Lindsay Lohan treatment.
Yeah, it must be nice.
Yeah.
He couldn't be a government informant, could he?
She arrested, and I think she spent 45 minutes in prison.
Yeah. Enough to book her in and get her out.
Yeah.
Basically it.
Yeah.
In
the waiting room.
Yes. So I apologize for all the technical difficulties this morning. It feels like a Monday, but it definitely is a Thursday. So we're going to wrap it up here. But
we'll see you next month.
Yes, we will. Yeah. And make sure that you continue to support us so we can hire some investigative journalists and we can continue the show. So make sure you donate.
We can bring you the real news.
Yes.
Okay, because you ain't getting it anywhere else, that's for damn sure.
No. And ask real questions, right? I think that's the other thing. Be skeptical. So make sure you donate, become a member, or if you have a business, advertise with us. We have a large following that are conservatives. So
and by the way, if you are going through an advertising agency, because most people do. I mean, you don't have time to sit there and bring in 3 or 4 television stations and talk to them every day, and all the radio stations that are on board. So you might be represented by an agency. Tell the agency you want to advertise with us, because you're spending a lot of money on some of these other platforms. On the other station, every other station in town is owned by a corporation. They're not locally owned. So you're actually helping. You all hear these things, buy local. Tell your ad agency that you want to spend some of that money with us.
Yes, and make sure you tune in next week. We're going to have another candidate running for city council next week, and we're also going to be talking about Folds of Honor. They have their big gala coming up, and they will be here to talk about that. So we're excited for next week.
That's a great organization, Folds of Honor. Look it up.
So we'll see you guys next week. Enjoy your weekend, and
remember, you can't spell Democrat without RAT.